Hello, this is Lisa Lee, and welcome to this is not this week's enrichment reading, although this will be in lieu of this week's enrichment reading because I want to make use of this very, very powerful energy that we are in right now. So how are we going to make use of this powerful energy? We are in a new moon in Cancer with Jupiter exalted and a Cazimi. Now, I'm not an astrologer, so I only sort of know what that means through looking it up myself, but Venus is in its home, and so there's a tremendous fertility to this energy. And there's also this aspect of squared with Saturn. The moon squares Saturn as well, so we have a very interesting sky and a very interesting combination of energies. And one of the cool things about what magic is and what alchemy is and how it actually works is that in the same way that we can put out moon water and put out water under the new moon or the full moon, and I have to look up how to do that properly, but when you put moon water out, it's absorbing that moonlight. And in a similar way, when we light this candle into this reading, because we are in the space, we're in the water of this day, we're in the water of this energy, and we bring that energy into the reading with us as we enter in. And in doing so, we can come back to this even when we're not in this particular energy, but make use of what the energy has to offer. And so I invite you into this reading of planting seeds and receiving that fertility and that abundance, and even what it means to look at the role that the moon that squares Saturn plays in dreaming and then manifesting at a ground level, really grounding it. So that's what this reading is about. So it's not just for today, and it's not that this energy isn't finite. It doesn't like come and go in an infinite sense. And so I invite you to use this energy whenever you are planting a seed, or whenever you're trying to start something up, or get a clear sense on your vision in terms of where you want to go, or what you want to bring into the world with you. And so if you want to take a deep breath and exhale, I want you to picture a tree all the way up and down your spine. And as you breathe in, I want you to breathe life into that tree and expand that life and that light into all of your inner branches. And as you exhale, I want you to allow the wind of the mother's wind, the mother's wind, to pick up your exhale and lift everything heavy off of your shoulders. And so I want you to take a couple of breaths like that. And while you do that, I'm going to set the intention to connect with the ascended ancestors, the ascended guides, and the ascended energies of this astrology that we are in right now, so that we can connect with this energy, bring it into the reading, and then have it in the reading when we need to access it again. So in prayer, we unite. So mote it be, and so it is. And with that, we are officially into the reading. Now that is one heck of a flame, and it's a dancing flame. There is an air conditioner on somewhere, so there's some, play of of air, but I am seeing that is a flame with a lot in it. So the first thing that we're going to look at the seed, because it's hard to sort of see what our desires are at this point, because with the structures failing, with what it means to get to a certain age and realize that the promises, the carrots that are given you, like the carrot and the stick, that those desires are, anything that was given to you is a desire that's going to fall flat. Anything that becomes your desire has to become your desire outside of the instructions of whatever the system that's giving out what your desires should be are. And since all that stuff is falling apart right now, it's a little bit difficult to get a hold of what do you desire? What exactly do you desire? What does your desire look like? And again, let's take a look. When we're born with a purpose, because we're in an ecosystem and everything in the ecosystem has a purpose. And your purpose is in resonance with what you love. And I'm going to have some water because my voice is going a little bit. Your purpose is in resonance with what you love. And so that desire is very important. So the universal abundance, going back to the ecosystem provides. But the limitations here, that we face a lot of times has to do with wanting what the universe is providing, what the universe has given us in the way of gift, voice, beauty, something that is very uniquely us for the world with our message and our life. a lot of times what we'll do is we'll look at that life, we'll look at that experience that is ours, we'll look at the person that we are, and we'll reject it, and we'll want something else. We want to be someone else. We want a different kind of experience. And so that's where we can go wrong when it comes to desire, is when we're comparing. We can sort of lose track of what our actual desires are and what desires that we have that are informed by like need, unmet need. A lot of what we think we desire has a lot to do with unmet need. Even down to like our romantic types have a lot to do with like the unmet need as they express through the parents on like an unconscious level. Like you're attracted to people to like solve the problems of your lineage almost. And so that's not the same as like that desire that is born of like your unique expression, but also your unique need. And so when we see this universal abundance, like the first thing that we're going to step into is a notion that anything that is meant for you is going to be yours. And the second thing that we're going to look at when we kind of begin to think about the seed, this planting of the seed that you want to bring something into the world with your ambition, with your inspiration, you want to get really clear on what that desire is for all the manifestation purposes. And so with the law of limitation, that comes in only when we are trying to push an agenda of how we want to be seen, heard, understood, and like welcomed into the world, like to the abandonment of like our actual self. And so like really just like willing to sell it all, and put on whatever the performance might mean in order to like have the result of that sort of life. Like a good example is like when people are like, I'm never going to be poor again, no matter what, I don't care. And then their life becomes a devotion to a type of security that, while once achieved, like leaves like a big question mark. And so it's important to get in touch with desire. Desire is what drives you in the right way. And so let's take a look and see what the seed that you are carrying to plant that can yield universal abundance. And the only limitations is when we are operating outside of those purposes in order to serve a fear, or to serve a wound, or to serve like an unmet need instead of a desire that is like true. And now again, like need informs desire, like we can go on the whole thing with that. The Starborn, okay. With the village, and this looks like somebody planting a seed, and the Starborn, like we are talking about belonging. We're talking about a place in the world. And so the seed that we're looking at planting for this particular collective that's here right now is a seed related to, it's not just about you want to bring something into the world, you want to be a blessing to those who are blessed by you, and you want to bless, and you want to do, have your voice be received in this way, because like all of that stuff is good in terms of authentic expression and wanting to find your people. But with the Starborn here, especially if I see these little bullet holes, everything that you put out there is of value, like there's no question about it. But I think when we get really clear on the fact that what you're looking for and hoping for in return for your authentic expression and in terms of being met as you, very much you, like no filters, like no performance as you, is you want belonging. And that's a really important and beautiful desire to have. And so when we think about the seed that you're planting, at the heart of it, no matter what the expression is, no matter what you have on offer in the way of art, or even like, competence or ability, the first seed, the first like true honest thing that we have to think about as like something that grounds the manifestation is getting in touch with the very like true truth that you want belonging. You want a place in the world. You want to know what that is. You want to know what it feels like. And so that universal abundance is there in respect to who you are and what you are purposed to bring into the world and what you are purposed to provide. The only thing that the honeybee knows, is that it wants the flower. It only knows its desire. It doesn't have the bigger picture. It doesn't know that it's pollinating the world as a part of a much bigger system. But if you understand that you're something that is doing something, a part of a much bigger system, and that your desire is going to tell you your purpose. And so when we kind of strip it all down, there is some purpose here for you that is you belong somewhere. You are like meant, you are so important to some people. Now, I want to strip us away from like celebrity. I want to strip us away from fame, and I really want to strip us away from types of family structures or even types of community structures that we've been in before. And I want to bring you into a different kind of vision. I want to show you a vision of there are like 5 or 6 people at a level of inner circle, and then there are like 12 to 15 that's a slightly larger circle, and there's a good like 40 to 80 at like the third circle above that. That's going to be everything that you can like reach and tangibly touch at like a walking around on the ground, speaking, like skin on, you know, like not in the internet, but like just you moving around in the world and interacting with people and having like physical, tangible relationships. So say like give or take 100, 150 people that you were born to love, and they were born to love you. And that's what this seed of belonging is about. It's about looking out into the world and not thinking, where do I belong? Where is my place in the world? At like the level of like a huge map and like genres and like sub-genres and like niches within the genre and like beacons within, you know, the ecosystem of like resonance. Like, yes, that's sort of like the basic sort of patterning of what it means to find your place in the world. But we're really talking about like the 10, 15 people that are meant to love you, see you, and that you are meant to love and see. There are people that were created to love you, and there are people that you were created to love. And so that's the belonging, and that's the seed that we're looking at, is like not only the work that you bring into the world and what that looks like, but the core group of collaborators, the core group of family, the core group of like what you are purposed to bring into the world and interact with and love. There are people you're supposed to love, and there are people who are supposed to love you. And if you're looking out at a landscape where you're just not seeing how that's possible, something about the universal abundance that is meant for you in the way that you're meant to show up in the world, there's some blockage along the way. And so we're going to plant the seed for you to find your people, your tribe, your collaborators, your family, and from that, everything else that you have to offer, because this is all connected. We're going to plant that seed, but then we're going to talk about sort of tangibly what it means to not be in alignment with that universal abundance because of some form of limitation, oftentimes like limiting beliefs, but like some kind of a limitation. So we have a seed to plant, and it's the star one. This is your place in the world where you're loved, where you're seen, where you're cared about, where you're nurtured, where you thrive, because the water is the plant is watered, you know, and it gets sunshine. And that's, I saw this, like, see, it says stardust and soil, opposites attract, like the plant is watered and it gets some sunshine. Let's take a look at what that means. And we're also going to look at blessed resilience. You can weather the storm. And there's also gallant, accept healing energies, gallant. Gallantry? Gallant. Bottom of the deck here, we have furnace, take action. With disenchant, you are protected. So a lot of what it comes down to, so, oh my gosh, you know, everybody deals with this. I suffer with this. We all suffer with this. This is like a universal, everyone's suffering. Fear. I mean, it doesn't end. You know, there's no end to the things that you could be afraid of that are valid fears that come from like valid experiences of living in an environment that is not conducive to nourishing and caring for and bringing life and potential into form. So I'm just like looking at this because I'm kind of like, you know, it's broader than like just the wish of like, you know, being properly received. It's like, will the seed that I plant, that is the voice that I have, that is the hopes that I carry, that is the way that I want to be received, that is the way that I want to receive, like, is that seed going to fall in the kind of like soil that is going to nurture my growth? Or am I going to show up, open my heart, open my mouth, and look at all these thorns and look at these like evil energies that are like scheming to just, you know, there's the extractors, there's the haters, there's the envy, there's the greed, there's the tyranny, there's like everything that could choke out a seed of creation exists. It does all exist, and it causes this disenchantment, where enchanted unity is where we are enchanted by the world around us. We are in active communication with the sentience of the earth. We are co-creating by, connecting with the divine genius and being inspired and bringing things into form. But it doesn't matter how much you bring something into form, you can serve a buffet. And if the soil and if you serve a buffet to a poison room of cruel family, the food's going to taste horrible, and everybody's going to have a hard time digesting it because the energy is going to be rancid. And so there's not just like showing up, but there's like this question of belonging around, and I think this is where the village and planting the seed and the starborn is someone who's different, who's just different. They're built different. They act different. They have a different perspective. Anybody who is like different is going to have to really doubly, triply like deal with this. Like, this is a field of thorns, like roots that want to choke out all new life in order to get itself like something in the way of life, because it's connected to some poison tree. And so like that all exists, but to get you out of some form of disenchantment, to know that you're protected instead of constantly being in some form of defense around protection, that might be very valid. And I want to look at that because, with the starborn and with this notion of the moon that squares Saturn right now, we've got the big blessings and emotional abundance of the new moon in Cancer, and that intuition and that home and that mothering and that inner world with blessing and growth and wisdom and divine timing with Jupiter. And so this is why it's so important to set these intentions like really from that point of like deep, like acknowledgement of truths that are already there, that are purposed within you, that speak to a desire that can't be denied. And it's not about putting a pretty picture around it or presenting it in the right or the wrong way, or having all the right values to like put on display for the gods to like give you what you're asking for. Like none of that, and all of the like, what is the most honest thing that I can ask for? And so we are at odds here with like this honest thing. You want belonging, you want love, you want a place to exist that is going to nurture your growth, that is going to support your growth, not take from it, not hurt you in any way. And so the village is hard for the starborn because the starborn doesn't fit in, and it takes a unique village to accept the anointed seed. And that's an odd way of saying it, but everyone who has something to offer is carrying some form of anointing. They're carrying some form of like a unique expression, a unique superpower, but out of alignment with what that universal abundance, that it's for everyone. The wisdom of the universe is for everyone. We can sort of like hit against these limitations. And so we have blessed resilience, means that you can weather any storm. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about the blessings that the gods want to give you and what it means to kind of be in this space of opposites. The opposites attract here with stardust and soil really means that like what you're made of in the way of substance and blessing for the earth, you're an anointed seed. You have something of value. You have something of beauty. You have something that is unique to you, that has been rejected, that people have not had the right way of receiving. You've experienced enough hardship and hurt and rejection and cruelty and misalignment and extortion and extraction and manipulation and pettiness, that instead of the enchanted unity with like the life that you're given and the expression that you have and the opportunities and the creativity, it's just like choked out and disenchanted. But your guides are saying you are protected, you've always been protected, and you're always protected in your purpose. And so we need to take a fire to this, like thorns. I see like these roots with these, it's like root systems with these thorns for defense. It's like you're a rose that has developed thorns because everybody who picks you up is cruel, And so what we're gonna do is we're not gonna try and pretend that the world is another way. Right now it's at its worst. We're not going to pretend that showing up does not include a firestorm of opposition from anybody who can't show up for any reason, who finds that, like there is this opposites attract. Like, yes, show up. Yes, glow up. Yes, be in your fullness. Yes, be blessed. Yes, grow. Yes, stand in your wisdom. Yes, trust the divine timing. Be with Jupiter. Like, be at home with yourself. Be mothering. Have a blessed inner world. Like, all of that. But in terms of what it means to grow And so that's not just roots in the ground, that's also that's also the heights, the leaves that like the plant that reaches the heights, the leaves that are all around you. In order to grow, you have to hit the sun. In order to hit the sun, you have to peak out. In order to be peaking out, there's some level of being perceived, because that those 10 to 15 people that you are designed to love, and they are designed to love you, that growth is meant to sort of like bring you into some level of visibility. And so the first thing we have to understand is like, yes, you will hit a firestorm of people who are just hateful and vile and disgusting. They're always there. They're always there. We could diagnose by we have categories: the psychosexually obsessed, you know, the envious, like lunatics, you know what I mean? Like we could go like category by category: narcissist, covert narcissist, you know, spiritual narcissist, idiot that doesn't know that they're a narcissist and thinks everybody else is a narcissist. Like we could categorize every little thing. But we're not going to do that, because that just keeps us in this disenchantment. That just keeps us feeling threatened, and we are protected. Whatever we're feeling, whatever we're experiencing, we are protected. And so while those roots might be deep, what it means to allow yourself to bloom and get attention, because that has there's a lot there with Jupiter exalted, with this Cazimi, and take action with this furnace and enchanted unity, bringing you into the village, the starborn planted and then growing in a village of support. And so let's just take a look at the opposites attract. Means like, yes, you're going to stick your head up and it's going to be some nasty ass disgusting. I guarantee the world is rancid and everyone in it is some variation of like trying to figure it out, but it is not pretty. And so you're not really showing up for when you make things. And I want you to get really clear about this, because the universe will provide abundantly. But when you make things, when you show up, when you make of yourself a type of gift for the world, you're not giving it to the masses, because you weren't designed for the masses. Because what is designed for the masses is archetypes. And what's an archetype? That's something that once, there you go, 3 of Cups. The archetype is how people see you, but not how you really are. You know, there's the private, and then there's the public. And so the archetype is always going to be the public. And you can fall in love with someone's public archetype, but in no way do you have access to their inner world and what it means to get close to their inner world and to get close to them. That's a by access, by permission kind of a situation. And so when we think about archetypes, anything that where the people aren't close, where people are not let in, is going to be like, you know, knowing each other at the level that is like archetypal, having archetypal interactions. But that doesn't have anything to do with the inner experience and the intimate experience and that intimate like connection. And so when you show up to express yourself, you're expressing yourself like as a clarifier of you, a clarifier of who you are, how you want to be, how you want to show up, how you want to be received, what it means to be you in the world. You curate that. And only like 10 people are going to love you passionately for the rest of your life as they encounter you. But then there are going to be like groups like that expand from that. And with this King of Pentacles, like, you know, this can go in every direction, you know, with this Ace of Pentacles, your voice, your path, the reception that you're meant to get, what you are purposed for. It can go like, you know, on and on and on and on, and people can respond to you at different rungs of intimacy. But ultimately, who you are speaking to when you speak are going to be the people that are going to love you. That's why you're making stuff. You're not making stuff for like mass appeal. You're not showing up in a school with a million people and expecting everybody to vote you the most popular. You're showing up with all of that authenticity in a lecture hall of 100 people to speak what it is that is purposed to come through you for the 2 people who are going to collaborate with you and know you as somebody that they love and that loves them. So it's what the seed is use your voice, but let the reception be an anticipation of love, not from the many, but from the destined, those destined to love you. And that doesn't mean that like you have to show up, with a public account. It just means that when you are in the world, in the ecosystem, you know that there are those that are destined to love you, and that they require some level of like, you have to build those roads so that they can find their way in, and that you can find your way out. And so that's what this blessed resilience is about, because the opposites are true. Yes, when you show up and make a show of yourself, in any way, because every drop of attention that you get in a household where there's like weirdness, in a like institution, like a school or a business where there's weirdness, every single little droplet of nutritious little, growth inducing nutrient, that you get, there are going to be 5 other people around you seething, because that's the nature of it. And so it's like, you can't let the fact that that is real stop your authentic expression. You can't let the fact that people there's a lot, there's a lot here that your guys want to show you about not letting the thorns and the fields of thorns that are in everyone that are holding like the rancid and the thieving and the monstrous stop you from the expression that gets you the 25 people that are going to love you more than anybody in the world, and that you're going to love, and that you're going to make stuff with, and that you're going to be a major success making stuff with, because that alchemy and that chemistry is what is actually the ingredient that like produces the King of Pentacles success. It's not the ideas, and it's not the appropriation of the ideas. It's the chemistry of energies, and it's the combination of people that produce something that is channeled, that is of substance, versus something that is siphoned, like matriculated and then performed in one way or another. Because the source of the inspiration is also the source of the life that goes into anything that is like genuinely channeled into the world. So like, you connect with the divine, you're starborn, you connect with the divine, you connect with that channel, that inspiration, the thing that you love, how it loves to express. And that can even be like making friends and putting people together. Like, it's different for all different people, but it's almost like follow your bliss is like a pretty good example of it. But it's more new, like, dig into that a little bit deeper, like bring a lot of philosophies in and like make it a little bit meatier. But it's basically like follow your bliss. If you run at the stuff that you love in life, you're going to run into the people that you are meant to love in life. And the whole point of creating is not for success in the masses, because that's just, I need water, that's gross. It is. I don't mean to like judge, but like, there's nothing wrong with wealth and there's nothing wrong with success. But all success that happens in isolation outside of groups of people that are succeeding together is empty. And so, having that place of belonging, planting that seed that is meant to grow, connecting with those that are meant to love you and that you are meant to love, and then having the type of fertility that is like from that alchemy and from that arrangement that produces literal forest fires, of like, remaking the world. With this 2 of Cups being about this connection and what connection can do, and the power of connection and the power of alchemy and the power of relationships, and that group, the core group of creators and like lovers and innovators and community, real community, like real community, not families that fight together, like, stay together, you know what I mean? Not like the boss like runs shit and everybody like just has to like deal with cool boss and that's somehow supposed to be better. Like, no, like legitimately the people that inspire you, you're inspired by them, they're inspired by you, you make stuff together, you have that belonging, that is home. 2 of Cups, that's knowing yourself so that you can know others, so that you can let others know yourself. And so with this opposites attract, it's not just about what you put on display. It's about knowing yourself. How do you want to be received? How do you want to be seen? Who are you in relationship to how you want to be seen? What is the distance you need to travel? What does it mean to bring that in relationship with somebody else? What does it mean to communicate from that place of process instead of that destination? Because it does require this death card here of like the way that we've always done it, changing into a new way of doing it. Because the old ways of connecting, bartering, exchange, like in relationship to roles that like feed the system and like the machine, that stuff's like garbage, it's going away. To get met at the level of needs, at the level of belonging, at the level of family, we want to come in with this 2 of Cups. I know myself, I know who I am, I know what I love, and I know what it is to express that Venus, like the things that I love, the things that I value, the beauty that I see, those that embody it. I'm going to express my love to those things that inspire it. And then when that expresses love back to you, now there is something that is wealth. Everything else is garbage. that you can't, like, there's nothing wealthy about that. And so we want to see success as wealth, yes, and there's nothing wrong with wealth. Wealth is a natural byproduct of having wealth, but real wealth is relationships, and real wealth is relationship at the level of alchemy, at the level of purpose, at the level of falling in love, not just like once in some romantic scheme of things, but like over and over and over and over again, with each new idea, each riveting conversation, each creative like aha. And so with this death card here being about like, you know, changing the way we see what we want, because when we're really honest about what we want, when we say like, I want wealth, you know, and for what? So that it'll afford me, you know, the things that I needs met. Okay, like that's, you want your needs met, is different than wealth. And so when we put that energy into like the key into the ignition on like driving the car of your life, and like where alchemically, like what's the manifestation, like ingredients at a felt level, the first one is like, you know, belonging, love, appreciation. Now from that point, when we acknowledge that, like we can have a little bit of a death around like the hustle and the drive that is actually just driving us off a cliff, because what is wealth achieved without a wealth of relationships to enjoy that wealth with, right? So with this Eight of Wands being about lots of communication back and forth, this Judgment being about somebody saying, hey, I get it, you know, like you get it. Like once this is the Judgment card is always revelation. So it's like, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you understand, like that's it, it's in front of you. And the Moon card being exactly what we're looking at here with Saturn squares the moon. Like this is with Saturn, all of the limitations, looking at like the vast expanse of like a heart that is hurting, you know, for its purpose, for its belonging, for its support, for its nutrients, for the environment that is going to nurture its growth, the people that are going to nurture its growth. We are not in a good place with this here, you know, with the Moon card being about, the Moon card is, I don't know how to get my needs met. I don't know how to be heard. I don't know what it means. Every time I show up, somebody chokes me out. Every time I say something, some like, you know, for every drop of attention, there's a fucking, you know what I mean? You can't even exist. And so like, I want to pull us out of the fear of the punishment that you're going to get for speaking authentically, the punishment that you're going to get for like daring to like make people have some reaction to you other than like their own supremacy. Like there's so many things here that we are conditioned against when it comes to connection, but like to see it and not be able to unsee it is to know that like the heart of the seed that you're planting, and the Judgment here is that you, Page of Coins, are looking for this opportunity with the Queen of Pentacles and the Six of Swords to be established. So we want to move you into being established with this Magician card here. And with this Magician card here, you have everything that you need to plant the seed of belonging to the people who are going to love you and who are going to create with you. And that comes with what it means to express yourself, but it also really requires you know yourself in order to express yourself. And I want you to be careful about what it means to know yourself. Because I've been looking, oh gosh, you know, it's like there's this, well, I don't even want to get into that because I'm trying to, there's a lot of ways in which like there's a tremendous number of things that are happening right now in the world that are distorting the way people understand in terms of what it means to connect and show up as themselves. Even an understanding of what authentic expression and what showing up even looks like. Like we've been having some trouble. I've been looking out over this landscape for some time. And so what it means for us to sort of like first belief is permission, believing that you are purposed to be loved by a number of people who are purposed to love you. And that's what you're showing up for. That's what you're creating for. That's what you're doing. It's for those people. And it's definitely not for the greater reception. And it might take some time to find those people as you show up. Like it might not be immediate. But beyond that, you know, this opposites attract mean like your guides are saying like you are starborn. You are born for something very powerful. You are meant to plant this desire, this seed in the ground with this energy of this moon. And it's meant to bloom. But in order for it to grow through these thorns, you have to be connected to that enchanted unity, that hope that says that the universe is for you and that there are people that are for you and that you may not know what shape that'll take yet. But that intuition, that home, that mothering, like the mothering device within you, there's like a homing device within you. And that when you connect with that desire, like there is a promise here when you show up knowing yourself and knowing what it is to be received and how you want to be received, there's a death to like, you know, like expecting that everybody's going to accept you, because that goes out the window. That expectation has to go. That expectation isn't going to serve anybody. And then this next sort of phase here, in terms of like the rapid communication, like that confidence from like, you know, a sense of yourself and a sense of communicating from that very present, you know, center of gravity. This is what it's needed. That's what's needed, right? And so this is kind of the seed that is being planted, is about being supported, knowing that you're supported, knowing that you're loved. You see it, you can't unsee it. So this is going to be quick for you. Once you kind of decide that you don't care, you know, about the thorns, and you plant your seed like with confidence in the love that you're meant to receive, this judgment call is here with this energy in this time. And like whenever you're finding it, it is a timeless reading, because I think it's like the energy is here in the reading. You're stepping into that reading, you're stepping into that energy, you're participating with it. And so there seems to be a promise here that, you know, when we sort of get clear on what the opportunity that is meant for you is, that Queen of Pentacles experience of being established, like there's the whole universe will sort of like move you in relationship to what you were purposed for the moment you have a sense of what that is and what that isn't. And what it isn't is a lot of the stuff that we think is. You know, we think that our desires are, you know, our self-worth and our desires are based on, you know, something that we are purposed for, that comes like in the very beginning. A lot of times it's just like the desire to be safe equals the desire to be in a helping possession. Like, you know, I almost said helping possession, but I meant like, you know, the desire to meet needs because it's the only way that you ever receive any sustenance can often just result into wanting to be in the helping profession. But what slipped out was like helping possession. And so I want us to kind of like, because this is a Star-born group, because this is an incredible group, I want us to kind of detangle from like what we think we want and really get in touch with this notion of how do I want to show up. And if I did not care what anyone thought, if I was assured and promised by everyone in the universe that they would receive me with love, if there would be no judgment whatsoever, and it would be nothing but like love and adoration and appreciation, and not fake, really seen, if you knew that you would be completely received and loved, how would you show up to the world? Because that's what we're planting here in the way of a seed, is an ability for you to do that and be blessed abundantly by doing that. And so that strips us down. It's very similar to the question of, if you had all the money in the world, like what would you do for a living? Is very similar to like, if everyone would just love you like the way that you are born to be loved, how would you show up? And you're meant to show up that way because you're going to find those connections. And it might be a little bit of a effort taking action there. And the furnace says that you almost have to like light a fire under your, like, you know, cursing on these channels is so silly. Light a fire under your ass. You know what I mean? Like that there's some need to light a fire under your ass related to all this disenchantment. Not to jingle the ice so vigorously, but with the blessed and resilience, you can weather the storm. That goes with the Magician. And that Six of Swords tells me that like we are in the storm, but moving out of it. And so as you plant the seed, what it means for the seed to sort of take root and begin to sort of ground into the earth so that it can grow is that there is a period of resilience here. There is a period here of that Six of Swords with the Magician. The Magician is you have everything that you need to do this. The Six of Swords says we got to take you out of chaos into some level of calm. And the blessed resilience, you can weather the storm, means like that chaos is a storm. And so you're in some kind of storm here, and your guides want to speak to it a little bit. When it comes to that fifth house, so Ace of Pentacles, King of Pentacles, I like this combination as being like the destination of like, where does this seed, once it planted, like end up growing? If you are like in tune with your purpose, which is what we're talking about, that's when the world and the universe conspires to put you exactly where you're supposed to be, when you are knowingly in that place. And so with that Ace of Pentacles being like the path that is meant for you, nobody can take that path away. That path is only meant for you. You can't really mess it up unless you're on a path that's meant for somebody else, or you're convinced that you should be on a path that is somebody else's edict on like what life should be. And so like that Ace of Pentacles also equals the King of Pentacles, established financially. Like that's an important aspect of this, because with the 5th house, you know, being about like you being able to make something and actually have it be of value, that's super tricky, because this is where the opposites attract a little bit as well. You know, what does it mean to like make something for the 15 people that are going to love you forever when you have to like reach them by crawling through like the thousands of thorny thicket energies that are just out for extraction, that just like want to make themselves feel better on a moment by moment basis without any cause for like what's going on around them or what it means to like be like connected. And so when we have a value system based on commerce and economy, your value is linked to what you can make or what you have in the way of money. No, you know, like no. And so for humanity's sake, your hopes and wishes, do it for the future. This 11th house, the new worldview, the future, like stepping into that ecosystem of what it means to be provided for and to provide in harmony with nature, that universal abundance that is there when you're operating in your purpose. This is a storm that we're in related to you being able to find what is truly of value despite all of the messaging to the contrary. So all of the messaging to the contrary is going to be along the lines of, you know, if you make it and they love it, then it's worth something. You know what I mean? Like if you do a good job, like you will be rewarded by like the jealousy of the people around you or whatever it ends up being. Like that's a mean way of putting it. But I'm trying to sort of get a hold of what it means for you to weather this storm is to have the right kind of resilience with it. We're going to be in a storm of like everybody. Oh, this is, I keep on trying to like run away from this because I'm always trying to not be mean. I'm not really mean, but okay, so I'm going to say it. I see these storms, and I've seen these storms for a while, and I was seeing it when I was looking at AI and the AI revolution, and like what is AI doing, what is AI capable of, what is AI not capable of, what will there be in the way of jobs, what won't there be, if there are jobs, what will they look like. This is a lot of the work that I do. And so when I was looking recently at social media, and I was immediately like, I have a psychic thing with the algorithms, and I'm like, oh, this is making for the worst shit ever. This is so garbage. And the reason that it's garbage is because it's extracting at the level of like the wrong formula with the wrong values, and it's getting the wrong result. And it's also, these things are organized in a bad way. So a lot of what you get when you're scrolling these days is people. If you're scrolling on the internet, you're going to see two things. You're going to see people selling stuff, and you're going to see people auditioning for the same role. So you're going to see 15 astrologers auditioning to be your favorite astrologer, 50 tarot readers auditioning to be your favorite tarot reader, 50 like talking heads auditioning. Like everyone's auditioning to be somebody's friend. And we don't want to do that. We actually want to show up as ourselves so that we can make actual friends. We don't want to audition for friends. And we don't want to, and when sales come into it, that's fine. Sales are good. And doing sales right is like, there's an art to it, but there's an art to it. And so if there's not an art to it, and if it's just a type of manipulation, sales can be gross. And so what I'm seeing here in terms of this 5th house and craft, you know, what you're making and I don't even think that's the right house. I'm like seeing this as being, something that you're doing, like you're making it for fun, art. My voice has been going lately. The stuff that you're making should be fun. And it should be like a ritual that brings you into community and into communication, and creating together is the spice of life. It's the value. And so this storm that we're currently in is one where everybody is auditioning for some sort of like place, you know, in the world. And that's not going to get anyone anywhere, but like so you have to kind of like weather the storm of letting everyone figure out that getting a teleprompter and having GTP, like, you know, write out some hot take, like is not what it means to connect. And then there's a difference between that and what it is to actually create something and then put it up for others to share in. And so while there's no way to express yourself right now with a proper reception, it's a right now, it's a in this moment in time kind of a place. When we talk about these universal abundance meets some level of limitation, the limitation right now is that like with the new technology, you know, comes like a period of disorientation and reorientation. And that's where enchanted unity and disenchantment, you have to be working right now with the planting of the seed related to what it means to communicate for fun, for art, for knowing your voice, for like meeting others, for play, because for humanity's sakes, for our hopes and wishes, and for like all the witches, you know, this is the blessed resilience, you know, for our resilience and do it for the future. What it means to be moved from this storm into calmer waters is to almost just have to weather like when everything is being reorganized, because things do have to be reorganized. Hopefully someone has some brains to do it right, and I believe that. But let's keep going. Let's keep it going, because we do have a gallant. I don't know how that word is said, because I've never heard it spoken, but it is accept the healing energies. So let's think about this a little bit, you know, because the 5th house with the trust of a child, fun, romance, and making art, do it dramatically. This is how you're supposed to show up with a level of resilience. Have resilience in having the trust of a child. Have resilience in having fun and bringing romance and making art. Have resilience in those things, and have resilience in being dramatic and having a good time. That is where your resilience is coming in. Don't think about the storm of desperation that is around you in every single direction, because it's thick and it's bad, and it's going to change. Things will change, and so you're planting that seed right now for your people, you know, for your connections to these people. And the accept the healing energies is about hope. So let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that. Let's look at your blessing. I want to see the blessing that you have coming in here. So all you really have to do is plant yourself firmly in desire and in knowing how you want to be seen, and seeing where you are and making that distance and communicating that distance. Do that firmly. That's the planted seed in terms of what it is to want to connect. You wanted to connect from the right center of gravity, the right place. From that point, there's a resilience that has to happen here, because you're going to have to go through the storm of like, it's madness, right? It's bad. And you're going to be brought through the storm. You're not going to have to, you have everything that you need to be brought through the storm, and you can be brought through the storm. But it is going to take a little bit of resilience. And if you are able to have that little bit of resilience, and we will talk about what that means to have that little bit of resilience, then you're going to have these blessings. And so let's see what these blessings look like. And I also want to see what this looks like in relationship to your healing. Because your health is your protection. Health is the strongest form of protection you can have all the time. And you see that in nature, so you know that it's true spiritually. You know, your health and the health of others is the strongest protection there is. 1 in reverse, yeah, 1 upside down. Well, 6 is interesting, because 6 is going to be that movement from that chaos and that storm and that need for resilience into the calmer waters. And what this is, this number is 6, and this is the 1. And so we want to move out of that like individualistic, I'm going to make my way, I'm going to make my say, I'm going to get my bag, I'm going to my, have to like put in the effort, like, you know, anything that I have to do, you know, pray every minute, like all the stuff that people do. Because that, you know, we're operating from a place of like a desperation to just be allowed to like be paid and exist to be yourself. Is there's nothing wrong with that desire. That's the desire you're meant to have. But how that desire actually translates into something that you do get what you need in the way of not only that belonging and that love and the true wealth that leads to other kinds of wealth. Now we have to turn it around, and we're like community. We're taking it as, you know, the all that is informing you, instead of you having to inform all that is. Now that's something to explain. That's not something that is easy to immediately grasp. But the period of time that we're in terms of what the blessing is that is for you, is this connection of oneness and belonging, you know, to belonging, you know, what it means to belong. One, there's nothing more belonging than one. And this actually looks like the sperm entering the egg to me. So this is like life accepting your life, life nurturing the growth of your life. And so really that belonging, we're coming back to that belonging in the 11th house. Now in the 11th house, that's like big. That's big belonging. That is actually a crowd. That is actually an audience, which is why you probably have to, like, you know, weather in terms of the blessing, you have to weather whatever this mess is right now in the world to get to this new place. Now let me have some water. This is an interesting thing here, because I want you to look at this card. You're going to see a person. And it's a shape of a person, like very vaguely, at the very brightest point, that white light that is infusing all of the light that gets yellower and yellower until it hits the blue. There's like a figure there. And I want you to also look at this figure right here. This figure is crouched in on itself. This figure is like holding its legs. This figure is balled up, holding its light to itself, keeping its light to itself, protecting its light. And that is actually having an inverse reaction of having that light being dissolved. It's dissolving the light. Instead of this energy getting, I'm seeing photosynthesis. Instead of the attention and instead of the like showing up in the world and being perceived, instead of that being an experience where you're getting the sun on your face and you're getting the mirroring and you're seeing yourself and you're seeing your experience, it's the opposite. It's having to protect yourself from any, like from someone taking advantage, for someone being mean and short-sighted and stupid. So this takes the light. This sucks the light out. But what your guides are sort of saying in terms of this blessing is, like, you know, allowing for yourself to open, like, to the part of receiving the blessing and allowing that seed to bloom is opening to the sun, is opening up to others. And so with this dance of the divine feminine and this accept the healing energies, there's something here about your blessings being that belonging, but that you have, that there's a fist. I feel you, like, tight fist, like really like like, you know, if someone comes near you and you're like, hi, like as tight as it possibly could be. And so for you to kind of like open that up and just like take a real deep breath and think about the fact that, like, you are definitely, there's some kind of an energetic thing, there's an energetic force field of protection with this dissolving light that is kind of like keeping your light from being fully on display. Because there's, that magician card says that there's almost nobody who can defeat your beauty and your light and your warmth when they get in orbit of it. And so no matter how hard people are judging you, no matter how much you represent the face of their fear, when they actually encounter you, when they actually have a conversation with you, you confront them so viscerally on the level of lovability that there's no reason to be balled up like this. Now, I get it, you know, that disenchanted over there, the you are protected just indicates that, like, what it meant to express yourself was always to encounter a mountain of opposition in terms of the ranks of the freaks who suspect that they could never love anyone. That's a song by Amy Mann. They're everywhere. Those ranks, those freaks, they're everywhere, and they're not, and they're the ones who are performing. They're the ones who aren't connected to their source and their own source, and they need to have the source from others. You know, they need to try and so that has been it. And so you have to hold the truth in your hand that exists, but the opposite, you have to express and act opposite that in order to have that sunlight hit. And then again, that means, like, you know, weathering the storms with all the haters, you know, resilience around, like, you know, just how difficult it's going to be in terms of the people who will stand up and condemn you for getting attention that they're not getting for any reason. But also, like, to allow your light to shine, because that divine feminine aspect of God, that rise of the divine feminine, it's a we, W-E, together. It's not an individual. And how that we gets in connection with each other, how that we begins to express in harmony, how the blessings of the community and the group and the family in an organic ecosystem, your purpose to love these people are purpose to love you. That's the rise of divine feminine, and that's the rise of the divine feminine power. So whatever you have been conditioned to in the way of this, like, a rise in reverse, like, look at this person, like, all like choked up, whatever you've been conditioned, and my voice too keeps on going. whatever you have been conditioned to by way of like all of the boundaries to success. Do you know what stands in the way of success for every single person? All of the people who aren't there and don't know how to get there. So think about the little slots, you know, the right now we're in a hierarchy. Think about those little slots that everyone is auditioning for. If you get the part for any reason, everyone who didn't get the part is what you have to deal with in the way of opposition. So that's like a sea of opposition. And so that can shut you down. And I see 2 shut down people. And so whether it's like, you know, any way that you have shined in any way, shape or form, if you shined because of your sense of humor in a group, if you shine anything where you like, you know, where you showed up and people considered you having gotten the part of loved by the room when they're not, that's going to be the oppositional forces. That's not what you hate. You don't hate those people. That doesn't help you. You don't shut down because those people exist. Those people don't even know what they're doing. That's the masses of the blind, you know, like they're just, you know, walking around, like walking into walls with the way that they, you know, feel about things, you know, disconnected in that way. And so what it means to come into a connection is to arise. It's to actually rise up. It's to actually let that fire start, and that anger, you know, that if you've been like, I can't show up, all these judgmental you know, blah, 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 curse words, you know, I'm gonna just be, you know what I mean? Like your guides are saying like, no, like you are meant to really be your fullest, most expressive self. And you have to have the resilience to move through all of the opposition. And that's going to be every single other person that is sort of heading in the direction that you're heading in, but you're heading there better or faster or in a more unique way or in more expressive, whatever the heck it is. You can't shut down as a result of it, because the blessing for you is to be a big part of what it means for this divine feminine aspect of God to rise and take its place in the world. That's for you. That's your position. You're born for it. You know, that's what you're made for. That's why you have the callings that you have. But what we're looking at in terms of planting the seed for a desire to have belonging, being able to plant yourself into this space and begin to allow that seed to open to the possibility of being loved, open to the possibility of being received, open to the possibility of having people to work with and do things with. Like all of that openness has to hit the light of day. It has to hit the air. And so you have to contend with this limit with Saturn from like the old world and the old experience, and whatever you are graduating from in the way of like that version of you is dead and something needs to be reborn. You have to be able to say like, yeah, that world killed me. That world took everything that I had to offer, and like I did not have a good experience. I can hold that in my hand and also root in a new belief, root in a new direction, root in a new way, and hit the sun at the level of that desire, because we have been conditioned to want things that have nothing to do with our giftedness and have nothing to do with our purpose. Because if we all want the same thing, we're going to compete, and if we're competing, we can be separated, and if we're separated, our power can never unite. So everything that you wanted that didn't work out, in all likelihood, was part of a conditioning that told you what you wanted. And in all likelihood, even if you got everything that you wanted, you're still at a place where that wasn't what you wanted. And so that death of God moment where like, you know, you get to the foot of the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me? My desires, my hopes, well, everything I ever wanted, why haven't you come true for me? This redirect here is like, understand that past was about ways in which you were driven, ways in which you were told what to desire. This future is all about being in purpose with what you're built for, and that is being supported by the universe in a very different way. If the universe supports you in doing something you're not purposed to do, it's supporting your eventual decline and not your growth. But to support what you're purposed to do is to support your growth, and that is like the harmony, the sentience of the planet. And so you trust in that sentience of the planet, and you begin to open to the possibility of belonging, open to the possibility of love from a new perspective, from a new set of values, and from a new set of desires. And that's that dance of the divine feminine. And so let's just take a look a little bit closer. Like, this is protected for you, this bloom, this future blooming. The only thing that is being required with that, you know, that Ace of Pentacles, you have a path. It's for you. You need to light a fire under your ass and burn away all of those thickets of thorns that are around your heart because of all of the stories that you tell yourself about the roster of experiences that you've had showing up as a rule. And this is unfair, and we can look at the universe and we can say, universe, how dare you? You shouldn't be this way. I can bet you that the economy has made you feel like there's no hope, and that's the false matrix over the ecosystem that is purposing you for the hope that you can still contain, and that if you're still alive, it's for you, and those people are for you, and that place is for you. And so we have to enchant enchant with unity instead of disenchant. All that to say, you have a path that nobody can take from you, and it will be established with this King of Pentacles here. And so let's take a look at just a little bit more here in terms of the blessing is coming into unity and coming into this belonging. That's a Sun card. That's a big yes. And Taurus, again, came out reverse. So I understand that this is going to be a process, but there's an opportunity in this planting of the seed to get really clear with yourself and say, I want belonging, I want love, and I want a reciprocity that is meant for me as I operate in my purpose. I want that compensation that is being planted in community with wealth, not wealth. Because wealth will get you wealth every single time. But wealth is just without wealth, And so with this opportunity here to turn this Taurus around, Taurus is going to be like earthly, practical, steadfast, productive, fertile, tactile, ample, worthy, right, pleasure-seeking, sensuous, blooming, solid, possessive, tenacious, loyal, patient, deliberate. And this is also like the homemaking kind of, we're in the Cancer mothering, inner world intuition, and then Taurus is bringing that inner world and that mothering into the world, and so that it's existing within you and also outside of you, and that includes like what your purpose to provide. There's an abundance here, and so this abundance is yours, but we do kind of have to pull you out of the house a little bit, and because what it means for you to create an outer world as rich as your inner world, that's the challenge. And that challenge is there, and you need resilience, and there's blessings in that resilience, because this dissolving light is about nutrients and a lack thereof. To get that nutrients, you have to fight through the competition for it. None of that competition is real. All of that competition is an illusion, but it's an illusion that other people are laboring under, which means that you have to ignore what it looks like and move in that gnosis and that center and that connection with the mother and her inspiration. Ignore what it looks like. Ignore the fruitlessness that it seems to be in order just to like express yourself. Like, there's never been a harder time to express yourself. There has never been more people auditioning for significance than there is right now. And there's never been a greater desperation than there is right now. And that's because they're looking for significance in the wrong place. But if you are looking for significance in the right place, where significance has always been, in relationship to your desire, in relationship to your ecosystem and the ecosystem that you were born to. This is very confusing. Like, I've been doing ecosystem stuff for a while, and someday that's going to be a lot of different things. It'll be used in a lot of different venues to make sense of what it is to reconnect to each other. But what it means to be in an ecosystem is to look around at the ecosystem that you're in and see that everything in the ecosystem has a purpose for something else in addition to itself, and know that you're that way too. And so to step into that truth and to operate with that truth, and to operate with the truth that doesn't matter what somebody says about what you express. The people that are meant to love you are going to love you. The people that are meant to be with you are going to be with you. The people that are meant to find you and build with you are going to be the people that find you and build with you. The universe will organize things that way. But if you're showing up, auditioning for a part in every single human being's heart, or in or at the level of like mob, you're going to be really disappointed about the reception. And your guides don't want that, because what you're planting in the way of a seed is not just about a job that is going to pay off. It's about a community that is going to support the kind of expression that you were built to bring into the world. And that is joy. That is praise. And so when we have Taurus upside down, we have this incredible inner world. What it means to make a home for that, make that materially outside yourself. There's an opportunity here to dance with this. So let's think about this, because we're kind of not tasked with much in the way of like this energy, anyone coming to this energy, either in the moment when the like right now I'm going to post this, and so anyone who's coming to this at the moment that I'm posting it, like we're in this energy, we're all making these manifestations, we're setting these intentions. This whole reading says set your intention at the absolute no BS truth, that what you're looking for is the kind of nourishing belonging that will allow you to thrive at the level of every support and every connection and every different rung of intimacy and all of the nutrients therein and all of the creativity and fun and the wealth of those that meet you there. We're planting that seed. We're not really going to get specific about planting seeds, relegating or I'm seeing like people planting seeds in this economy. I want to be this rich. I want to be that received. I want to have that kind of a thing. I want this thing. Don't plant your seeds in something that's imploding and that will just be sucked into a black hole of itself as something else like more sustainable comes to form. Get ahead of the curve with that sustainability. That sun card is that seed of truth, that seed of clarity, that connection to the divine, and that connection to a faith that says, I am loved. I am going to be received by those who are meant to love me. I'm meant to love others and they're meant to love me. And that is a fundamental truth. Finding that is connecting with my desire. Connecting with my desire is also connecting with how I express myself. Expressing myself is how I have to move into the world with an openness, not a closed fist, not an agenda, not a plan, an openness. And that openness is not going to be loved and respected by others. They're going to be threatened by it. They're going to want to, it doesn't matter. That's all part of like a false matrix, a false investment system, a false value system, a false economy. And you're doing something completely different. You're gonna be taking this bounty within you, and you're gonna plant it. You're gonna like pleasure seeking, sensuous, like make something beautiful of the things that you think are beautiful with those that you find beautiful, and create of those spaces. And there are many spaces like that, and connect with others who are in that spirit. That's that Venus at home with itself. We have Venus domiciled at home in love with where it is, with values, beauty, and embodiment. That's exactly what this Taurus feels like here, where you're embodying your beauty because you know what it is, where you have a sense of your values because they're ones that you crafted personally and nobody can talk you out of them. When you know what it is to love and be loved because you're not having false experiences of love, you are generating it, and so you are embodying it. Plant that seed and everything else grows like a gorgeous rainforest garden. Plant another seed related to like a type of success, and it does not allow for the universe to come in at every level and provide that universal abundance. And so the law of limitation, like what's not for you won't be for you. So we have to think about what it means to align with what is for you. And the recipe is here. And the recipe's been coming out in a lot of different ways, but this is how we use this energy. And so the blessings and the emotional abundance here come with rethinking what it means to glow up, rethinking what it means to be received, rethinking what it means to communicate, rethinking what it means to create, all of that stuff, as being something that is playful and fun and dramatic, because that brings in the change, that change at the level of the fifth house, with the heart of a child, romantic fun, making art, do it dramatically. That change in you brings out the change at the 11th house level, and even brings you into purpose at the level of the 11th house, which is actually some sort of notoriety and it's for humanity's sakes and your hopes and your wishes, and do it for the future. There is such a blessing here in terms of your placement in the world. Where you're born to be planted, and the village that you're planted to grow in, and those you're planted to like love and who will love you, are also going to be the opposite of what you're taught about what it means to create and connect. But that's okay, because those roots are going to go deep, and instead of closing down and letting that light dissolve, you are glowing up from within. within, and that glow can't be taken. And then we're moving all of that beauty that is sort of hidden in this fist into like the public eye somewhat, or, you know, by public I mean the people that it can receive you or are meant to see you. And it's changing that, you know, instead of pushing yourself out and so that people can see you, now you're with like this other energy of connecting to the all and being on display in that place, in that village, in that planted spot. And so this is the opportunity. I'm going to leave it there. Sending you all lots of love. It's time to arise. And the hard part with this is just setting flames to this thicket of disenchantment around everybody auditioning for the part that is not meant for anyone in the first place, and nobody getting in touch with the purpose that they are purposed for and the value in that expression, not in compared to anybody, but at its essence, in its earnest, like in its truth. So yeah, that's what we're doing. All right, I'm sending you all lots of love, and I will see you again soon.